From painting to photography, from beadwork to woodworking, KQAL FM on the campus of Winona State University presents Art Beat. Art Beat highlights the work and accomplishments of local artists from in and around Winona. Support for Art Beat is made possible by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund.
This week on Art Beat, we hear from Lois Peterson on her new exhibit, Listening for Evidence. Listening for Evidence explores Lois's fascination with spacious, quiet scenes and their artistic qualities. I'm Willard Huyck. This is Art Beat here on 89.5 KQAL. I'm here at Watkins Gallery with Lois Peterson, the artist behind Listening for Evidence. How's it going, Lois?
It's good, thank you.
I want to start by asking about the title, Listening for Evidence. What do you hope to convey by calling the exhibit that?
I think that in addition to looking at something, we also listen a lot. And I know this sounds like something a little bit out there, but it's almost like visually listening. Like we listen for something quietly. And you try to envision, what does that look like? What does listening look like?
One thing I remember you remarking on during your talk, when comparing, say, like a picture of the inspiration and the drawing itself, you notice that you kind of, at least with this exhibit, tended toward like scarcity and just the very bare-bone elements, illustrating the bare-bone elements of the inspiration in the scene. Could you comment on that style, on that process a little bit?
I have to remove all of the extras. By removing all of the extras, visually, listening-wise, I can see something and sense something more by eliminating everything that isn't essential.
So this exhibit is all about spaciousness, and you'd say spaciousness in sound, or maybe lack thereof with the sound part. What got you interested in such a concept?
Where I live.
And where's that?
Here. I think living in the Mississippi River Valley is one of the most beautiful places there are, and I've traveled the world. There are a lot of beautiful places in the world. But here, there is something extraordinary for me to pay attention to.
How did you go about seeking inspiration for particular pieces? My impression was during the artist talk that there's a lot of landscape. You mentioned you were up in Barrow, Alaska, and a couple different places in Africa. What generally would you say you draw inspiration from? Looking outdoors, looking at what's there. For me, it's the spaciousness of the natural world, whether that's the Mississippi River, whether it's a valley or twigs, but really looking at what naturally occurs. What medium did you use with these works?
Yeah, that's interesting. A little obsessive compulsiveness, make it work for you. If you're obsessive compulsive, don't make it a problem, make it an asset. I work with a mechanical pencil on very large scale drawings. I use .07 lead. And I don't use a regular pencil because I would spend half my life sharpening it if I did, so I have to use a mechanical pencil because I just have to be able to click it, and I go through lead very quickly.
Was there any particular reason you chose to go with drawing for this exhibit, for this collection of works, versus some other medium like painting, or you mentioned you worked with tiles and ceramics?
I used to. I taught clay for 30 years probably, and then I switched over to oil stick drawings and paintings, but I just kind of had to listen to myself. And it's sort of scary using just a piece of paper and a pencil. It's almost like you can hide behind technique, unless all you have is a pencil and a piece of paper, and then there is like no technical aspect that needs explaining. We all know how to use a pencil, for heaven's sake. So now you're just got a subject matter without any technical accoutrements to worry about.
Do you find yourself, whether just, by habit or intention, is there a particular process do you find, like maybe from beginning with a particular piece to the very end? Is there a process you fall into, whether by habit or intention?
I don't know that there's a habit, or I'm not sure. I can tell my process is I I look, I photograph, I think about in my mind, and I'll do a preliminary drawings, small ones, because when I start working on a 40 by 60 inch drawing, it may take me 2-3 months. And I work in my studio with a pencil in my hand 3 hours a day. That's what I have in me. And so I want to make sure that there's a chance that it's going to work. Not that it will, but there's a possibility of it working, and that's important.
Is this your first collection of drawings, or have you been drawing for some time?
I've really been drawing for probably 30 years. I started exhibiting solely drawings without the ceramic components about 12 years ago.
Would you say this collection, in terms of drawing style, is that a stylistic departure from previous work?
Yeah, I think work always evolves, and you got to keep evolving. You have to allow it to evolve. I've never quite understood artists whose work is good, but they never change. I mean, that would be like eating the same thing every day. I mean, it may be good, but don't you get tired of it? I mean, what fun is that, it has to evolve in order to hold my interest.
How long did it take you to complete the works included in this collection from start to finish?
Probably a couple years.
How long has it been on display?
This work is fairly recent. So the last exhibit was in Mankato at the Carnegie Arts Center, and that was last fall. And then this exhibit, and then there's another one that will be in La Crosse at the Studio 1311 this spring.
Another quote that I really enjoyed from your artist talk is that you often have more questions than answers. In sort of posing these questions to yourself, have you found any answers? In other words, what's something you've taken away from working on this collection?
I wished I had started it 40 years ago. I wished I hadn't been so hung up in other media. I mean, I'm thankful that I found it when I did. That's what I know. I wished I had not gone down the paths that I did.
You mentioned earlier some of the different mediums you've worked with. I'm curious about your personal background. You also have a background in education, is that right?
Yeah, I have an undergrad degree in education, and I taught in public schools, K-12, for 7 years, loved it. Then I got an MFA in ceramics, loved it, worked as a clay artist for 30 years, and then about 12 years ago, due to health issues, I needed to stop working in clay, and it was a blessing. I was able to find something that engages me in a way I hadn't felt for a long time.
So regarding the concepts that are, explored in this work, do you feel, are you satisfied with what you've found in terms of the questions, or are you going to further explore these concepts in future work?
I don't think I've ever found the answer yet. I just keep looking, there's always the next one.
Where can interested audience members learn more about the exhibit, about your work? What would be some good avenues for that, whether it be websites or social media, etc.?
They can find my website, Lois Peterson. I have a website. I don't tend to keep it updated, but I have one. And come to Watkins. Come to the gallery here on Winona State.
Well, Lois, thank you very much for joining us. I enjoyed the exhibit. Thank you. Thanks again to Lois Peterson for joining us on this episode of Art Beat. For more conversations on art, tune into Art Beat Tuesdays at 12:30 right here on 89.5 KQAL. I'm Willard Huyck. Thanks for joining us.
Art Beat is written and produced by KQAL FM on the campus of Winona State University. Visit us on the web at kqal.org.
Is art an important part of your life? Find podcasts of Artbeat and all your favorite KQAL shows at kqal.org. Artbeat is made possible by a grant from the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund.